This is Nick Elliott with Focus Training. This is our introduction piece here, and Mike Lennox here with Xhilarate Fitness. We have, yeah, I mean, man, it's been quite a few years now that we've known each other now, man. Are we going on like 4 years now?
4 years.
Maybe. So about I think Mike and I have kind of worked closely for 4, possibly 5 years, maybe going on 5 years, but we worked in the same gym. We've done some community workouts together. We did some online, some virtual training. We just went through a multi-dimensional course together, and we have a lot of the same colleagues and mentors. And so we have been very inspired to try and get something off the ground. And I don't know how you see it, Mike, but when I think about this, I think that, a lot of what I hear, or, I just think that this is a breath of fresh air for Jupiter right now. I think that this conversation, or these conversations that we're having, I think they're a breath of fresh air for Jupiter. I think that it can expand to Palm Beach County, Florida, and for anyone really who's unfamiliar with some of these concepts, these territories. But yeah, I think that Mike, I know the way that he trains. There's a colleague that he works with at the gym. I think the way that that individual as well is kind of working their business structure. I think that's a new way to do things within the fitness industry, and especially what this area knows. So I don't know if you want to kind of give a little background about yourself, what that entails, and we can keep going from there.
Yeah, well, I got my start in fitness. I actually back in 20, when was it? 1995.
Right on, man. I was 5 years old, Mike.
Is this where we pause 3 seconds so we can cut this out?
Heck yeah.
No, well, so to take it back a little bit, I'd been in the hospitality industry for a long time, and so I always liked that aspect of serving and helping people, showing them an experience, giving them experience, and helping them to facilitate that feeling good, coming in, having the experience. And a colleague that I work with had been doing and actually, so I was very active, athletic, went to gym, worked out, typical old school stuff. But I met a trainer at a World's Gym, big box gym. But I just kind of first noticed him, watching him train, and the way he would talk to his clients and describe what was going on and educate him. And he was very big on education. Whereas I look around the gym and all the other trainers were just kind of like looking around, watching themselves in the mirror, and this guy there was something different about him. So long story short, I, got to know him, became friends, and found out he went to Fitness Institute, which Dr. Anthony Abbott, incredible resume. This guy has, done many, many things, trained the National Space Team and underwater Navy SEALs, and just an incredible resume. So I looked into this program, I started it, and really enjoyed it. And I always said to myself, I don't know why I didn't take this path right out of high school, because it would have been just a natural thing, progression. So then one of my colleagues in the hospitality we were talking one day, and he was doing both training and massage therapy, which I knew nothing about. And I thought it was something for the rich and famous, never had one. But he started explaining how it was, you could, learn these techniques to help somebody who's got a, shoulder issue, like, experiencing back problems. And again, like being in that service mentality, like I love that. Same with the training, like I want to help somebody get in shape and feel good. And so I ended up kind of putting the training stuff on a burner, went through massage program, ended up doing that, and did that for a good 10, 15 years.
All right on.
And this was back, I got licensed in massage in 96. So yeah, you were just a little guy.
So for that 10, 15 years, you were strictly just doing the massage and
Doing a massage. Yeah.
okay.
I stopped with the training. And then it came to a point where, you know, physically my body was kind of getting to the point where, like, this maintaining the schedule I was doing with the body work was tough.
Right.
And I just was ready to, like have more of an impact, because with the massage, I'd see some people once a week, twice, a few twice a week. I did pretty, um, well-to-do clientele. So they were able to do that. But, like a lot of people, once every 2 weeks, once a month, once every 2 months. Right.
Right.
So in that time, it was hard to really have the kind of impact that I wanted to. And, I was like, what can I do? And then it kind of full circle back to the fitness, jump back into the Fitness Institute. One of the courses there went through IHP with Juan Carlos Santana, who's known as like the father of functional training. Phenomenal guy, great, educator, and really good program. So I've been fortunate, I felt, to have had, these kind of mentors. And so that kind of got me into the training realm, did some boot camps, did some outdoor stuff, got into a facility where we built up from 10 classes to 40 classes a week. We were doing small group classes of max 10 people, with the idea of just making sure everybody had eyes on. So personal training in a class format, right?
Right on. Was that FR or was that
yeah, it was FR. And then I also built, helped to build the personal training side of that as well. And I mean, there was a point I was doing 70, 80 appointments a week, and just
right.
It was great having an impact, but kind of going along with what Michael's podcast is about, just that burnout. Like, you just
Right.
work in time, trading time for money. And so anyway, my career evolved. I started to just see peaks and valleys with people, like without, like I felt my programming was on point from what I learned. Like I said, I had some really good mentors. And from the feedback I was getting, their diet and everything kind of stayed the same. But there would be, peaks where they, start getting injured for no apparent reason and putting on weight. And so I just always felt there was more, which that kind of led to, I think, my first real connection into the movement arena was with Matt.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I saw him for some body work, and he says, he had me walk down the hall. He goes, just kind of like a little assessment, a little gait assessment, as we now know. And he's watching me walk. And then he came in and he says, okay, let me see you squat. And I'm like, oh, I'm a trainer, I'm going to nail this. Right. So I got up, and like my feet shoulder width apart, and like chest up, and like super, like, good form. And I'm like, I just start going down, and my back like locked up. And I was like, ooh, right. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. Right. So he's okay. He goes, all right. He goes, now just, and he demonstrated a movement squat.
Right.
Show me that. Allow your spine to flex, just kind of like you're picking something up.
Right.
So I did it. I'm like, that was easy. I'm like, that felt good. And he's like, okay. And then he showed me how to push from the ground, and like, again, kind of gave me the basics of like how to move. Right. Which again is so, strange thinking, I'm a trainer. I've been in industry now for 10, 13 years, whatever it was. And so I'm like, I want to know more, I want to know more. And I think that's when it kind of led to the movement apprenticeship, which he ended up putting together, which that led to the MDMC program. And like now it's just really cool. The journey is just continuing. But I know I kind of left out the whole little like segue into the real fitness world. And I'll let you kind of share a little of that. But that was, it's the my experience and my like whole journey through fitness has really like gone some different ways, and like what I've seen, what I've come across. And it's just it's really interesting. And now getting to know, from what we learned from Matt and what we've taken from the DMC and the whole crew at Gymnazo is like how they're elevating the industry, and just how there's really no structure to it. Like anybody can come in and do it, and it's really, in a sense, kind of scary, because like, I know you've seen it. We see people who take people and put them through workouts,
Right.
and like, I mean, you could seriously, hurt somebody if you don't know what you're doing. You just take
Right.
somebody off the street, now you're throwing them, you know, into like some high intensity workout, or you just have them, you throw a load on them, and you don't know what their bodies can do. And
Right.
um, so it's just very interesting how nothing has been like, I don't say, I guess, regulated, as far as like one type of body to come together and say, this is what we need, again, to know
Yeah.
the power of what we do and what we offer, and
Right.
what we can really offer, like to create something where we're all kind of aligned.
Mhm.
And again, then it kind of gets into the whole thing is, where I think Michael talks about a lot is, like, we're all on the same team as trainers,
Mhm.
you know, so there shouldn't be this competition.
Right.
And that was when I first heard it. That was kind of a tough pill to swallow, because coming up, it was always like feast or famine. Like, my clients are my clients.
Right.
You know, I met other trainers that, like, they don't want to share their secrets. They're like, oh, what are you doing there? How do you do that?
Right.
And
Right.
like nobody wants to share, because like there's some
Right.
kind of secret. You're doing something that they don't want to share, tell you, because they don't want to lose their. But um just the idea of like, we're all on the same team, and we're here to like help people out,
Yeah.
and there's plenty of people out there that need the help.
Right.
um, so that has been a really um cool thing that I've tried to become and stay aware of as I'm working, and as I as I'm learning. I feel very fortunate and grateful for the path that I've gone through, and for the people that I've met and come in contact with,
Right.
um, to have learned the stuff that I have. Because I know at one time, like, I just knew what I knew, and like I thought I was doing the right thing, and then like later I realized, oh my gosh, like I'm hurting this person. Like,
Right.
I'm not doing what I thought I was doing, but I was just doing the best I could.
For sure.
Because a lot of it is just the information that's out there.
Right.
So,
Right.
but
One
yeah.
thing, going through high school, obviously, like very athletic. Played at my dad was literally growing up. I'm enrolled in everything. You're gonna play every sport, Nick. I was like, Dad, I hate t-ball. It's like, you're gonna play it. Like, I mean, there was even it was just burnout across the board. I mean, I was 14, and I was like, Dad, I don't want to play soccer this season. I need a break. Dude, I was doing 4 or 5 practices a week, tournaments every other weekend. We're driving 4 or 5 out. Like, I'm like, Dad, I don't want. Give me a season off. He said, okay, so what are you gonna do instead? I was like, seriously, man, like, dude.
Just
But that's so
rest and recovery, right?
yes, right, exactly. Um, but during that whole time, I'm running track, I'm playing tennis. I did chess after school sometimes. There was like little badminton and ping pong clubs. I played those. Basketball with the boys, So there was always something. There was always something. Just at sports, man. But coming out of high school, there was no transition period, because the way I was taught was, you go straight to school, you go straight to college now.
Yeah.
That's you don't take a year off, you don't go travel, that wasn't part of it. So having said that, I went straight into school, and of course I tried out for the soccer team and made the soccer team and all those good things. But going through school was just a constant, what am I going to do with my life? Man, like, I have no idea what I want to do. I'm like, the only thing I know is sports. So naturally, when it came to signing up for classes or going and talking to an advisor, I'm like, what do you have that I can do that's sports? Like, and seriously. And well, then eventually it got to exercise science, and So I remember one advisor was saying like, do you like the body? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, and she was like, do you want to learn about the body? And I was like, sure. So then I started anatomy and physiology, and I did terribly in them because I didn't understand a lot of the concepts, but I loved it. I loved being able to break down the body and its layers. And honestly, if we're being honest, there was a lot of other things involved as to why I did poorly. But yeah, so that kind of carried on and dipped in and out. And then finally, man, in Orlando, just a that was probably the most stressful time of my life was Orlando. It just sucked all around, but I ended up meeting a really good guy, kind of like along those lines. You met someone and you just like, I want to know what they're doing. And I met this guy, and he worked out of a boxing club. I think Title Nine, was it Title Nine?
Yeah,
Title Nine, I think it was, in Orlando. And he worked out of a boxing gym. He did jujitsu on the side, but he actually ended up, before all that, he went through a personal training institute that they have up in Orlando. It's a 6-month program. You get like 150 hours of hands-on work, 150 hours of book studying, 150 hours of in the field application. And so it was like a legitimate program. It's a really cool program. And so he was like, hey man, dude, you're a great athlete. You should totally check this out. So I ended up checking out. And of course, I fell in love immediately. I was like, oh my gosh, like here's the missing piece. This whole time I've been, what do I do with my life? I know everything. So that was really cool. And of course, just with the athletic background and thinking that you have to go 110 miles an hour at all times, like I fit right in, man. I fit right in. That's how they taught. Once again, it was great education. There were so many things that I learned that I didn't ever know. But yeah, my education was along the lines of, the old school mentality of training. We talked about the planes. I remember us talking about the planes of motion, but it wasn't, it didn't really extend outside of, hey, this is what they're called. So I honestly don't know if I did a lateral lunge until, I don't know, maybe a few years after that. Yeah. So
when you did it,
anyway,
it's like, what, you're not really understanding why you did it. Like,
exactly.
it's just
100%.
I saw this done. I saw somebody do this.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, man. And just speaking of that, just intent as to why anything was happening. Just why did we just design the workout like this? Like, exactly like you said, why did we do 10 chest exercises? Because I can't feel my chest now, can't move my arms. Yeah. So from there, transitioned away from Orlando and started kind of bouncing in and out of big box gyms, LA Fitness, 24-hour, then a couple, I guess you could call them smaller boutique gyms in Oklahoma, and then came down to West Palm, same thing. And then I was like, man, I think I need to take my education to the next level. So got back into school, and that's where went through essentially 3/4 of a bachelor's in exercise science and physiology program, had like 102 credits built up right there on the doorstep for graduation. And then I had a bunch of excuses as to why not to graduate, and King came in the picture. So then again, put training on the back burner, started working out of Vitamin Shop. I was like, you know what? I might as well learn about nutrition and supplements. So literally, right? Like, I'm just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So did that for a while, ended up meeting Brendan at Real Fitness. And then that's when Real Fitness started, man. And that's when I learned how to train someone while I was drunk, like that's so that's what kicked everything off. And that was, I do you remember when you joined, when you came in, what year was that? 2019, 2018?
My 17, 18, yeah.
17, 18, because it wasn't until, and I've said this many times, it wasn't until that did I realize Oh man, just absence or lack of or huge void in my life. Training was strictly to beat myself up. That's how I trained my clients. That's how my boot camp was run. There was no understanding of movement dysfunction or pain or discomfort. It was just pushed through. Everything was pushed through. That was my answer to everything. You're not
Yeah.
pushing through it, we're not going to work together. So
It's amazing that
yeah,
relationship we have.
yeah, and it's intense, man, and it sucks to think about it in a way. Actually, someone asked me the other day. Um, I can't even remember how that conversation, but basically they were like, "Well, your reputation's pretty good," and I was like, I was like, there was definitely a questionable time there where I don't think I was a very good trainer. I think I was a really horrible trainer. I got people results because I pushed them to the brink of destroying themselves,
Right.
right? The same way I did. Like my body was constantly on E, trying to build itself back up, but it's like so anyway, that's just a darker time. And then Mike walked in the gym. Mike walked in. I was like, "Yo, who is this guy?" And
Like my music.
our yeah, so our some of our earliest interactions. There was a radio that everyone would kind of hop onto there, and they would sync Bluetooth their phone. And I often played very, very aggressive music that went along with my training. And Mike one day said that, "Hey, buddy, can we change that? Because I'm trying to run a business." And my first response was probably not the best, but it definitely got me thinking because then I'm like, damn, he's got a point. And but then then I started kind of diving deeper into I'm wearing cutoffs, yet I'm running a business. One day I wore pajamas. I remember coming in my pajamas because I was like, yes, dude, like, man. So it was, dude, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It was
But
and people paid me. People paid me.
it's crazy, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
We don't know, man.
Yeah. So yeah, it from there, like you were saying, the movement squat kind of shifted things for you. And once I saw you do that with someone, I was like, ooh, I was like, this guy knows a little bit more. There's more there. And then I remember one day you had um, your Manila folder with the workouts written up, and you pulled that out, and I was like, oh man, he's legit like programming for the week. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, usually I get up in 10 minutes before. I'm like, how do I want to hurt myself today? That's what everyone's gonna do.
Yeah.
And which again, I don't think that trainers have the mentality of hurting people, but I think that they get up in the morning and they're like, what am I gonna do today with my
Well, a lot of
clients?
like you said, like
Yeah.
that's how we judge the workout, like how
Right.
hard it was, how hard can we
Right.
make it, how
Yeah.
much can we like hurt, like how can we make the muscle scream? We always talk about like
Right.
making the muscle
Right.
scream, like, and that was kind of standard for the industry, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, even in saying that, I think that once again, you were probably in a more uh, educated or accepting place because I remember the opportunity that once I started to shift some of my areas, you let me work with some of your clients there for a couple of times that you were on vacation. And I remember just kind of seeing their progression through, where not just weight, but the how the actual move would advance. If you had them doing a specific move, it would advance. And I just remember, I remember working with Raj specifically one time and Jen one time, and I was like, oh man, like that's cool that you're witnessing growth. Like you're
Yeah.
witnessing within the space of 3 weeks or something. You're witnessing them gain confidence, awareness, the ability to do something. So that was what really spoke volumes about your training and what you were doing with people, and I was still missing a lot of pieces. So that was the big turning point. And I think from there, man, it's been movement apprenticeship and vitality online and MDMC and all the other conversations we had in the middle of that. And especially when we definitely got into more of that mental, emotional, spiritual realm for a while, where we were just really, I mean, we still take it quite seriously, but it became a huge piece of how we were interacting and training and connecting with people. And yeah, I mean, that I've always looked to you, and I think so much of what you've done, has always created a sense of drive in me. I mean, because the amount of times where you come up and say, like you said you went to Boca or Boynton for the rope flow, or the guy down there, and then when you were doing the hormone class for basically trying to understand a woman's body a little bit more, and should they be training at this percentage, this threshold all the time, or should it really be like ebb and flow with going through their cycle, and just things like that. This constant craving for knowledge and understanding has always created a drive in me, where I'm just like, you know what? I bet you there's a little bit more that I can add to this. I bet you there's another piece that can be added to this. So that's I think and now we're here. Now we're here,
Yeah.
2022, and building and creating connection. Yeah, man, it's been a long journey. Has it hasn't been that long, but it feels like it's been a really long journey. Like,
Well, just listen, I'm just kind of reviewing the ramble I went on, and then listening to you, and again, it seems like there's a lot that's gone on, and there's been a lot of different stops along the way. And
yeah,
I think about you were saying, people say your reputation, you have a good reputation, and you look in your mind, you're like, I was,
right,
we only know what we know. And I think about early in my career, again, when I was with our FR, I felt I'd gotten really good results with people.
right,
I felt again, I had a lot of education, and I was always in search of that, and always wanted to know more, and really good mentors there. And but it's, again, like I said, there was always a missing piece. And then it just dawned on me, when we were doing the online stuff,
yeah,
right, and it was just we were just basically all body weight, right?
yeah,
So you would think we're not using any dumbbells, we're not using any heavy weight or anything, but just how going through it. And I mean, I wasn't even really going, I was doing the warm up and around, right? But a lot of it, there was stuff that I was struggling with. And as we're programming this, we're, again, in my head, I'm I feel pretty comfortable in my knowledge, and being able to program, and being aware of, modifying for people for their injuries and their limitations, and being able to write a quality program to create a result.
right,
And then, again, we hopefully are always progressing, we're always growing, we're always learning and using that. And it's just so funny when I look back now at the programs I wrote, that we were doing then. I'm
right,
what are we thinking? And I'm I still do that now,
right,
on a weekly basis, when I go through and write, my clients' workouts. Everyone says to make it efficient, just redo.
mm,
And I'm it's so funny, how often I'm I don't really like that. I feel I've learned something different, where I don't like that grouping, that pairing, that move for this
right,
person. Again, the whole thing with the intent, you mentioned that a lot. They in MDMC, we went through that a lot. What's the intent? It's not just putting together what looks like to be a cool workout on paper.
right.
What's the intent? And I mean, that's a ongoing journey and evolution. But yeah, it made me laugh when you were saying about how the growth part, within this long journey that we've been through. I think it's really cool to listen how like there's been a progression,
Right.
like we all start out where we start out,
Right.
and but like we didn't sit there.
Right.
Like we
Right.
were like, okay. And, both fortunate to have come across people that we've, been able, that we've recognized opportunity
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like taken that,
Yeah.
like and it's just, and I think that's life, even, with it, whether it's in fitness or anything, like just to
Yeah.
see that and be like, I'd be like, yeah, I know it all.
Right. Right.
Because I know there was a time in fitness where I was like, I thought I knew, like, oh no, like
Right.
you're doing it wrong, or why are they doing that? And
Mhm.
um actually I think it was, I don't know, Gary was one of the first people that told me that. He's like, when you walk into a gym and you see somebody doing something, seeing a trainer do something with somebody,
Right.
like don't don't be so quick to judge. Because I'd always be like, like, it's stupid,
Right. Right.
right? But not knowing like the backstory of why they're doing it and what their
Right.
intention is.
Huh.
And maybe 90% of the time it was stupid, but like there could be a
Right.
very good reason. And
Right.
that's always like kind of stuck with me. And then I think about it too. Like there's sometimes I'm doing something with somebody that I may not think is like the best, efficient, whatever way, but I know they like it,
Right.
or that's what they need at that point.
Right. Right.
They may be um, doing a squat and or doing a particular move, and I'm looking at one thing and I want them to focus on one thing, you know and that's all I'm worried about right now. I'm not looking to give them like the whole picture, because we're kind of
Right.
breaking it down. But
Right.
yeah, there's just so much within the industry, and
Yeah.
just, yeah, it's been a cool journey for sure.
Right. And I guess it kind of comes back to that, right? Like CJ right now would totally be like, oh, we came for full circle, like because we started off this discussion about just personal trainer and the title and the burnout and
Yeah,
like it should be abolished, and you see the journey that someone goes through, and I think that's why that can be convicting or trigger court, because so much has been invested into it, and this is what we've been
yeah,
taught.
good
um,
point.
so it's like that journey for someone could have been crazy intense. And so yeah, but and speaking to a point there with the programming, hearing you talking like the intent, and so I did my first official took the town of Jupiter through a workout. So I did my first one. I had taken them through a warm up. I've watched a lot of them, and now I did my first one where I took them through a session. And going into it, well, again, I was like nervous because I'm like, old Nick was like, okay, you can get him this will really fire it up. And I'm like, whoa, really like through the course of the day leading up to the session, I talked myself down probably 8 times where I was like, it's too intense, man. Or what's the intent there? Like, why would you want to do that for people you've never actually worked with in this capacity? For most of them, for the duration of the day, are sitting in a chair. So let's just say their feet are flatter, heels are to the ground more often. How often are they accessing forward intent? Like their calves are going to literally light up just like that. Like, but then I started getting into rhythm almost. I started really starting to see, okay, break it down. Like use the foundational positions, right? Like use the planes of motion. So maybe we stick to sagittal and frontal today. I literally I brought the pro pulsars and a 5-pound dumbbell and then cones so that people knew where the stations were. And I was so proud of myself, like setting it up. Seriously, man, setting it up,
Right.
because I'm like, they're not going to be like beat up. They're not going to be super sore. They're going to get a session that they may not have expected, which will exactly right.
Yeah.
But having said that, I know that this is going to create enough curiosity that they'll want to come back on Thursday or whenever I see them next.
Yeah.
And I was really proud of that because it was like seeing them go through it. So many things came to light, man. Like my intent was XYZ. they were able to perform ABC, or this is what their body was able to give at that moment. You
Right.
know, a couple guys have done that are involved in this. They do Spartan races. They have a little bit more experience training, but I just, you know, like a diagonal upswing from hip to shoulder height, and it was like they didn't. There wasn't the connection there. So it's so cool, man, just to yeah, again, to see where we've come, and yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say like that's just like it's a great like indication of the growth that you've had, the maturation, and just the awareness of recognizing that, because
right,
we want to be like, we get some new people, we want to impress them, we want
yeah,
to get
yeah,
make great workout. And what's a
right,
great workout? Oh, you got to work hard, you got to sweat, you got to,
right,
go home being like, oh my God, my body is just dying. Like,
right,
no, like, again, old school mentality. And
yeah,
again, that's kind of
yeah,
what we've been brought up to believe. And so it's not necessarily like our fault. That's all we know. But to have a different awareness and just kind of a different thought process on that, like, and I was thinking about this yesterday. I'm like, what do we like? What's the point of us working out? Like, like obviously we want to, we all want to look good. Everyone's like, everyone wants to look good naked. Like, and we
right,
want to, everyone wants to lose weight. But like ultimately, like Michael said, we just want to be able to move and like
yeah,
be able to do things without the pain of, like, and
yeah,
have energy and like we don't want to, well, I don't, personally, I don't want to work out and then not be able to move the next day.
exactly, yeah.
Kind of defeats the
So
purpose.
eating food while they're training, but then also one-on-one, right? Like that's kind of what they're known as, building a business off the one-on-one, the 30-minute windows. And so man, it's so, there's so much that comes with that term personal trainer. I think, it
Yeah.
really is, it's so encompassing.
Well, that's kind of how I thought he meant like just the term personal training
Right,
trainer and what that meant.
right,
I didn't necessarily take it initially as like the personal trainer and what that means should be abolished, just
right,
like what we define the personal trainer as, or that, and that stereotype of what that is, that needs to be abolished.
yeah,
Because I mean, we had that conversation in the podcast, like what
yeah,
is, the whole personal trainer thing. And I think we all like kind of struggle, like, what does that mean? Oh, I'm just a personal trainer,
right,
or I'm a personal trainer. And then people are like, oh, like I already know what you do.
right,
Right? No, you don't. Like, you have no idea.
right, right,
But again,
right,
that could mean anything. That could mean so
yeah,
many different things. And again, like I started getting into it and it made me think of like different things, just like the healthcare system. And like you hear about, so many people getting sick, and like you just see,
right,
disease and illness and, what goes on. And, and then, then if you want to add into like the whole insurance and healthcare, and like,
right,
it's just such a farce, like they don't
yeah,
want to do anything until you're actually sick. And they're not
yeah,
really treating you to get better. They're treating you to stay sick.
yeah, yeah,
Right. And like, as a personal trainer, or the industry that we're in, what we do, what we offer, and what we can offer, like that's what like people should have access to. Because again, Michael started talking about like, there's, the people who have the money to pay for the one-on-one training, and they're good and they'll always be good. But then there's a
right,
lot of people who don't have the money to do it. They are sick, they're injured, they're hurting, but they just can't do it. They can't
right,
maybe afford it.
right,
And then again, maybe those are the ones who are doing the typical group classes, the, you know, random ones that are about, without having to really mention any names.
right,
But they're very generic. They're not geared to themselves. And it's, again,
right,
keeping them moving, which is great. Like, it's all good.
right,
And it's helping. But again, even that should be, you would think, should be something that's recognized and, allocated for in like some sort of healthcare, but
right,
again, we're not recognized. Like, you can go to a chiropractor, you can go to this doctor, you can go to wherever, but you can't see a personal trainer who's going to get you walking, moving, and just feeling better mentally, because now you're doing these things, and it's going to create a, hormonally, like now all of a sudden things are going to maybe line up a little better, which is going to, improve your immune system, improve how you're feeling, and all this other stuff, like not really recognized. And we're not going to give you any money towards that to help you out to really feel better and live a healthier life.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, man. It's there's a lot inside of that. There's a lot inside, and I think, I mean, I'll speak to my own experiences here, but I think for a long time, I really didn't see personal training as a career. Like I was doing it. It's what I called myself. I think I don't know. It might have had to do with self worth or whatever, but I just didn't ever see myself getting anywhere with it. And I was always just kind of like, what am I going to do? That it was, to me, it was
Like a
not this
bridge or a
thing, and
crossroad.
I think because of that, I never invested into it. Like I never invested into what it could be. Um, and now that these conversations are kind of popping up, and having more of them, and meeting people doing different things within, it really like starts to resonate, or hit home a little bit deeper about, yeah, I guess just the way we go through life, and how we kind of try and structure that. And I just kind of speaking to one of your points, I just had this conversation the other day. Oh man, I'm trying to remember what they asked me, but it was basically along the lines of, like, they weren't speaking to sustainability. They were speaking to almost, and it's not just healthcare. I think so many industries and organizations work on the basis of, let's fix the problem for now, and they never take into account down the road, right? So we ended up getting on the conversation of medication, and depending on what it is, and this individual said, "So you don't believe in antibiotics?" And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. I didn't say I didn't believe in them. It's not a case of believing in whether or not it works. I'm just saying, knowing that you're taking the antibiotics, what's the outcome that's being created? So you've just possibly helped something in the system. You fought off a virus or bacteria or whatever the medication is for. But now let's just say the bacteria in the intestines is totally lopsided, and it's giving you stomach issues, and you're just having trouble kind of going through the day. Maybe your mood and your emotions is off now." That's how personal training is. Like, a lot of time we're kind of trying to fix the right now, and that I shouldn't say that's how personal training is. I think that's how the healthcare industry kind of functions. Right. Like, does
Yes,
that
I
make
would say,
sense? Like,
I would say personal training should, it should be the antithesis of that, is like,
right,
we're going to, try to get your health in order to
right,
avoid and to
right,
keep you from getting a lot of that. And
right. Yeah. Yeah, that's yes, I agree with that. It provides the possibility, yes, right? Like the prehabilitation, the preventative
the
care.
preventative, exactly,
Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
Like it provides that opportunity. And if something does pop up, you can work through that a little bit more efficiently, or so.
Right. If you take care of your body, if you,
Right,
you know, move your body, if you eat right, if you do like the things we all know what to do, if you manage your system, manage your stress, build your immune system, um, then you can, I don't necessarily say, guaranteed to avoid, but you can stay away from a lot of that. Again,
yeah,
um, if your immune system is strong, you're better able to fight it off.
right,
Again, like things happen and we all get sick and we all things, like that can't really be explained. But I'd say for the most part, you're giving yourself a chance. Like you're doing everything in your power to take care of the body and put your body in the best possible shape to fight off anything, to deal with whatever's to come. Whereas, not just waiting for something to come and then trying to, like you said, grab the medicine to fix that, kind of a Band-Aid approach.
Or hoping that it doesn't come,
Right.
like, oh, I hope I don't get COVID.
Right. But again, like through that, again, and this opens up another can of worms, is like, like sitting around hoping and worrying, and now you're, coming into that like whole thing of stress.
Yeah,
And what that's going to do, how that's going to suppress the immune system, and
for sure.
And then then it doesn't matter like what you're doing, like the stress is going to trump it all, like Matt always told us,
without a doubt.
the trilogy.
Yeah, that's, I'll tell you what, with my learning process, I think that's been the most apparent, is just how powerful it really can be. And I'm speaking to stress patterns or emotional patterns, how powerful, how deep they can really go. And I know you're no stranger to this, but it's just like, like I saw someone's post on Instagram the other day, maybe you had seen it as well, about the immune system kind of got beat down, and the prior attack was last year. And I was thinking about my experience in December and in March, but I was just thinking how I've changed so many things, and I've really been dedicated and diligent to getting the colors in my food and taking more rest days, adding in more stretch periods, and I've been on a really solid roll. But the one thing, man, that just sits there is stress. If I'm not actively managing my emotional ups and downs and anxiety for, okay, I have this interview, I had an interview on Wednesday with Ellie, and I was super nervous. I didn't sleep the night before because part of it was just crazy excitement, to get to do another one. The other part of it was like, man, I don't want to mess up. I don't want to say, I don't want to sit there and be like, I want to sound as if I know what I'm speaking about. And so it's like this, but even that excitement of anxiety, that like, oh, I can't wait to do this, I didn't sleep. And I woke up in the morning and I felt a little bit like, wow, like I could have used that sleep, So it's this constant being, seriously, man, it's this constant being, and that's a positive experience in that sense, where, some days when, like King falls off the swing the other day, and then his mom lets me know, hey, he's got scratches on his face, and I'm sitting there like, man, like I wish I could be with him right now, like it kind of takes that emotional pattern a little bit deeper and more of a negative connotation. So, and you could go weeks, months without recognizing it, and then all of a sudden you just like, at least for, once again, myself, I just feel locked up and I feel like so withdrawn and closed off. But the funniest thing, man, on those days is when the old Nick 1.0 is like, dude, go work out. You'll be good. Go do a workout. Just get it out of your system. And then lo and behold, I crash and burn, whether it's later that day or the next couple of days.
So there's patterns kick in.
Yeah, it just feeds, it just goes right to the next. It's like a little puzzle, little path, avenue. It just feeds right to the next. Neurons that fire together, wire together. So it just carries right on down the road. Your body's like, oh, I know this path. We're going to burn out in about 3 weeks.
Right. Yeah. And like you were saying, it's a journey. Like we just continue to learn. Like, I mean, we've been on this, with Matt for a while, and the more we learn, the more we, like, same thing with the movement, the more we realize that we have to learn. And, just when you think, Matt always says, just when you think you got it, you may intellectualize and intellectually know it, but doesn't mean you got it.
Right.
And I mean, just speaking, I mean, we talked about it this when with the whole episode in the Keys with the wedding, and like, we think when we say stress, we think about like something bad happening, like, oh my God, the worry, but even just like the ambition, like, and having like a full plate, and like you went into like all of a sudden having, a lot on your plate, school,
Right.
MDMC, raising a young child, like just like, so where you were busy to begin with, now all of a sudden you got a lot more on your plate,
Yeah.
and you handled it, and it's all good stuff. It's all great, exciting,
Right.
and building, but it all becomes stress. And then now you said, you add the workouts in there because now you're trying to, you know, build and expand upon your business and build and expand upon your knowledge about different parts of, movement and different toys and tools and whatnot. So now we're playing with those, and like again, that's all, you know, exercise, movement, but in a place like that, that's additional stress,
Right.
and it's just really interesting. It's a conversation I feel like I'm constantly having with my athletes about, just, taking a step back,
Right.
because, you know, if you have all this stress in your at home, or, in your life, whatever it may be, not necessarily bad stress, but just so much going on, and you're not sleeping, and that's affecting your eating, and, kids, having trouble with kids or schedules or whatever it may be. And now
Right.
you want to come here, and your cup is already, on E,
Yeah.
right? And now you're gonna, but this is your release. And we've talked about this long and
Yeah.
hard. We've done this ourselves. Um, but it just breaks you down, even though it's in our minds, it's a good thing. Like, it feels good. We feel good to work out and like to get it out. But the body doesn't know that. The body's just like, oh, it's another stress and I can't handle anymore. And then all of a sudden, injuries, illness, whatever it is,
Yeah.
comes about. And it's yeah, it's a really tough little balancing act that we
Right.
play with.
Right. And I guess, and speaking of that, I mean, I think, the world is changing in certain ways, and I think the accessibility to people like Matt, and what they do for their little communities, I definitely believe that helps, because I think all the people that have joined him at some point have made some seriously awesome strides. They've made some seriously awesome changes, and most of it is just becoming aware of what you're going through, whether it is the movement, whether it is the stress from work or the family life at home, or what you're putting in your body, your sleep cycle, like even just picking up the little pieces, and it can create such a huge reality shift. So, yeah, man, I totally hear that. And I was thinking while you were talking, and you said, take a step back, and I was thinking about that Instagram post you had. It was probably quite a while ago now, maybe last year actually, and it was Amy using the ladder. And like, I know Amy, like, she's an athlete. She did track, like, her kids are speed demons. Like, I think of Amy as like go, go, go.
Can
But
do all
then you had her
things.
in the ladder, and she's just taking these baby steps in a ladder. And I think your caption was, sometimes you have to slow down to speed up, or something like that. I think it
Yeah.
was something like that. And
Mhm.
it's just, I hear you talking, and I'm just like, yeah, like sometimes what is not necessarily what's best for you. Sometimes you have to just kick it into a different gear
Yeah.
that maybe you're not as comfortable with, or you don't have a lot of experience with it, but it will help the outcome that you are trying to create. So
Yeah.
so interesting to think about that. Just, and it really, once again, it's not one of those like perplexing concepts. It's just trying to apply. Hey, just slow it down a little bit. Take a step back. Like, it's all good. You don't have to kill yourself every day. You don't have to go. And Michael said the other. I don't even remember. He said, I don't believe anyone should be training at 100% threshold. And he's
Yeah.
like, of course,
Yeah.
if you're an Olympic athlete, like, we're talking to a different community, but he's like, depending on the community, I don't think anyone should be training at 100% threshold.
Right.
And even then, I'm like, man, like, once again, it's that.
So contrary to what we've been taught.
Yeah, man. For the longest time, and even once again, every workout was like, oh, I'm going to go 110%. That's what
Right.
I do. I mean, think about our garage workouts. Like, I think we were all pretty close to 100. But I was always in that, like, I have to beat Mike, I have to beat M, and whoever else is there. I'm gonna be the fastest. I'm gonna do the heaviest bands. I'm gonna do the most weight. There was never like this understanding of like, why not just connect with you, man?
Right.
Why not
Even
just
if you're not feeling good, even if you're not feeling
right?
good, come and give 100%. Like, give all you
Yes,
got.
exactly.
Like, give all you got. You're not feeling good,
Yeah,
but give all you got. So you got
right.
nothing left. You know, yeah, that is
Crazy.
funny. And it's funny you say that, because when I heard him talk about that, I was like, makes so much sense. But like to go and like tell somebody that now, like I'm like, because
Right.
again, I know how I feel when I hear it,
Right.
and how hard it is to me to accept that,
Yeah.
and I totally get it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think I might have practiced it over the last couple of years. but
Right.
but yeah, to like now explain that to somebody and be like, you don't need to, like, again,
Right.
unless you're training for some kind of,
Right.
special,
Right.
intense event, that's one thing. But even then, again, I keep using, I don't know, CJ or Michael was saying, we're not here to try to obliterate the muscles,
Right.
like going back to, getting back into like a typical bodybuilding type of program, which, I
Right.
came up on, you're just, we're doing chest, and we're just going to obliterate the chest, and we're going to, do like 10 different exercises, and just pound it and just obliterate those tissues. Right. And
Man, oh man, yeah.
and that's what we grew up knowing. And but I've been trying to, because what that always led to is like, oh, now I'm super sore. Oh yeah, that's because I tore apart tissue, and now they're growing, and that's going to create size and make me look big and strong and da da da.
Right.
And so it became like, if you're not sore, you didn't get a good workout.
Yeah.
Right. So I've had people come in and be like, oh, I'm not really sore today, like maybe it wasn't a good workout.
Right.
you know and then
Right.
so now you have that, just that conversation about like, we're not here trying to just obliterate the tissues. Like,
Right.
when you start, yeah, when you're not used to any of this, it's all going to probably feel much more sore. But as your body gets a little more used to it, like, we definitely want to, again, leading into Michael's, the progressive overload
Right.
podcast they just did. But like, we, in order to get stronger, we got to push a little more and more.
Yeah.
Obviously there's just different theories on how to do that, but
Right.
you're not gonna, you know, was it Michael that said it? Like, here you have a woman carrying around her 40-50 pound kid, 20-pound bag and groceries, and but then comes into the gym and grabs 3-pound dumbbells.
Right.
Right. That's,
Oh yeah.
you're not gonna create a whole lot of change,
Right. Right.
you know, in
Yeah.
that sense.